World War II was a global conflict that lasted from 1939 to 1945. It involved the majority of the world's nations, including all of the great powers, organized into two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. The war was characterized by the use of new technologies, tactics, and strategies that resulted in unprecedented destruction and loss of life. It is estimated that the war caused between 70 and 85 million fatalities, making it the deadliest conflict in human history. The origins of World War II can be traced back to the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended the First World War, imposed harsh penalties on Germany and left many Germans feeling bitter and resentful. Adolf Hitler, who had come to power in Germany in 1933, was determined to undo the Treaty of Versailles and restore Germany's position as a great power. In 1938, Hitler's aggressive foreign policy led to the annexation of Austria and the occupation of the Sudetenland region of Czechoslovakia. Following year, Germany invaded Poland, prompting Britain and France to declare war on Germany. This marked the beginning of World War II. The early stages of the war were marked by German military successes. German forces quickly overran much of Western Europe, and by the summer of 1940, France had been conquered and occupied. The Battle of Britain followed, in which the German Luftwaffe attempted to gain air superiority over the British Royal Air Force. Although the Germans inflicted heavy damage on British cities, they were unable to achieve air superiority, and the Battle of Britain ended in a strategic victory for the Allies. In June 1941, Germany launched a surprise invasion of the Soviet Union, breaking a non-aggression pact that had been signed between the two countries in 1939. The German offensive initially made significant gains, but ultimately proved unsuccessful, and the Soviet Union emerged as one of the key Allied powers in the war. In 1941, Japan, which had been expanding its empire throughout Asia, attacked the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This attack prompted the United States to enter the war on the side of the Allies. The war in the Pacific, which was fought primarily between Japan and the United States, was marked by brutal fighting in island campaigns such as Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. The tide of the war began to turn in 1942, as the Allies gained significant victories in key theaters of the conflict. In North Africa, British forces under the command of General Bernard Montgomery defeated the German Afrika Korps under General Erwin Rommel. In the Soviet Union, the Red Army launched a counteroffensive that pushed German forces back from the outskirts of Moscow. In 1944, the Allies launched a series of massive offensives that would ultimately lead to victory in Europe. In June of that year, Allied forces landed in Normandy, France, in what became known as the D-Day invasion. This marked the beginning of the end for German forces in Western Europe, and by the spring of 1945, Allied forces had captured Berlin, the German capital. In the Pacific, the Allies continued to push back Japanese forces. In February 1945, U.S. forces captured the island of Iwo Jima after a brutal battle that claimed the lives of thousands of American and Japanese soldiers. In August of that year, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, causing massive destruction and killing an estimated 200,000 people. This prompted Japan to surrender, and the war came to an end on September 2, 1945, when Japan signed the Instrument of Surrender. The impact of World War II was enormous.